all you out there in YouTube land, this is Translator10 and I'm back with another action figure review. For those of you who do not realize, I have just signed on my 1,000th subscriber, and it's a milestone. And to celebrate that milestone, I'm bringing you another milestone. Now, for those of you who remember, I basically started off this channel doing vintage Batman toys. Of course, I've dabbled in some other things like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and a couple X-Men and, a couple other licensed characters here and there. But really, the core channel has always been really about Batman. So, it's kind of fitting that I would do this 1,000 subscriber video focused around a highly detailed and authentic action figure that vintage collectors are just going to adore. It is modern, but as I said, vintage collectors are going to adore this particular figure, and for very well good reasons. From the DC Comics Multiverse line from Mattel, it's currently shipping to stores as we speak. It is the Penguin, and not just any Penguin, the Batman Returns Devito Penguin. Card itself is very, very attractive. This is some very attractive packaging. Very much reds and yellows. Very much stands out from all the other DC stuff that's currently being put out by Mattel, which is usually in a more flashy 60s type for the 66 Batman series, or the very bluish industry, generic Batman line. And what I can say is, it's just very nice packaging. It displays the figure well. You have a very nice Batman Returns insignia from the original Batman Returns teaser poster. You have a very nice still image of Danny DeVito, plus the film title that featured this particular character. On the back, you have his spotlighted bio, or not bio, but kind of like tech specs. Other figures that you can collect in this line, and their treatment of the DC Comics Multiverse, which spans all films, video games, television shows. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do with this line. Unfortunately, a lot of collectors are not too happy with the DC Multiverse line. Due to some cost-cutting measures, some figures do look a little cheaper than others, but I really do feel this particular figure will stand above the rest. So without further ado, let's rip this package open and we'll take a look at Danny DeVito in the flesh. Once we have Penguin out of the package, we can see that this is a very well detailed action figure. I really don't have that much to complain about. Most of the detail itself is within the paints and the sculpt of the figure, which does look very impressive. I really do see a resemblance to Danny DeVito here. This figure is extremely well done by Mattel, and definitely a spotlight in what many refer to as the crap of offerings that we've received since the DC Classics line folded a couple of years ago. There are some hiccups in the paint. As you can see, the bow tie is speckled, and in some spots, some of the speckles do look to be painted very sloppily. The buttons themselves are a little misaligned, but that's really all I can see here. Everything else is just so well done. There is a very nice balance of flats and gloss blacks to really make this figure pop a little bit, from the band wrapped around his stovepipe top hat and the leather type material for the gloves. All of them very, very nicely detailed. The folds in the jacket are just enough to symbolize cloth and fabric, but not overly done so it doesn't look, overdone. But I think the most impressive detail just has to be in the face. Look at that face. Now, this is possibly the best Danny DeVito likeness I have ever seen in an action figure, and possibly the first. I don't know if this guy's ever made an action figure before. So if this is the first, then it's certainly the best of what I've seen right now. I really do love the attention to detail, all of the different paints that were used to really make this grimacing, weathered type look for the Penguin. The way that his flesh is more of a pale ghost white with different brownish washes added into the lips, the eyes, and the different various folds in his faces. It really does look very, very, very striking. I'm just really just that in love with this particular figure. His articulation isn't much, but it is enough, I have to say. Remember, Danny DeVito's Penguin wasn't really that athletic. He didn't really do much of anything except maybe waddle around and maybe squat a little bit. But in this particular guy's, he didn't really do much of anything but walk around and look distinguished. So his articulation is a slightly ball-jointed head, but unfortunately the hair does prohibit movement, but unfortunately he can look side to side, which is really all you need. He has a double ball joint on his shoulders, which goes around in 360, bendable elbows, swivel wrists, a really cool hip joint so that he can kind of sit, but unfortunately the jacket will prohibit any other poses with that. He does have slightly bendable knees, so if you want you can do him in a little squat position. Unfortunately the figure isn't really all that balanced, possibly because of his pot belly, so he will take a tumble. He's best to just stand here and just look pretty. No articulation in the knees, but once again, don't really need it. Any of these other joints probably would have been just a waste. He does seem to have a waist swivel, but unfortunately I'm not going to force it and feeling that I'm going to break it, so I may have to do the hot water trick. But other than that, this is really all you need with the Penguin. But of course, what would the Penguin be without his trusty umbrella accessory, which he can hold in either hand. Unfortunately, it doesn't launch any missiles or anything like that, but it does open up. Probably would have preferred either the stuffed animal umbrella, which, since this thing is in two pieces and you have to attach, you can actually spin to get the effect, or that really cool umbrella with the that little vertigo pattern on it. But since in this outfit he was supposed to look distinguished, all he had was a black umbrella. So can't really fault their decision here. Doesn't fit in his right hand very well, but it does seem to be tailor-made to fit his left hand. And that is it. That is the Penguin. There are more figures coming out in this particular line. The Arkham figures are currently out in stores, but the Wave 2 Batman and Superman movie figures should be hitting your stores right now. In fact, we do have a Batman figure, a Michael Keaton Batman figure, which I have reviewed. But as you can see, he doesn't fit too well with this line. He doesn't at all. So why would I be recommending this figure at all? Well, that's because I'm a vintage Batman collector. And as a vintage Batman collector, I really wanted that Penguin figure from Batman Returns that we should have gotten. We should have gotten a Danny DeVito Penguin. We got a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. We got a Jack Nicholson Joker. We even got a Mr. Freeze Arnold Schwarzenegger. We needed a Danny DeVito Penguin. What we got, basically, since Danny DeVito either wouldn't sign off his likeness, or if Kenner thought the character was just too scary to sell in toys, we got a Superpowers Penguin. Well, this figure alone should warrant a purchase for vintage Batman collectors because he fits in perfectly with the Batman Returns figure line. Perfectly. He is pretty much to scale, maybe a little tall, but he fits in well, extremely well, with the Batman Returns figure line from 1992. Never has a figure looked like it. Never has a 4-inch figure, in my opinion, look like it stepped right off the screen. Okay, that's probably putting it a little too dramatically. But if you were to see this figure up close, you can't deny that it is just a wonderful, wonderful piece and a nice little nod to nostalgia. I'm Trans810, and I am signing off.